Hello friends, so let us resume with the part 2 of this lecture. So what we essentially want to do is, we want to arrive at the similar set of expressions for the normal stress experienced by a region of our interest that is inclined by an angle theta within a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing combination of biaxial tensile loading and a simple shear loading. So when you have this combination, then we have derived an expression for the normal stress and the shear stress. Now we want to see if we are able to construct such a Morse circle that will give us a similar set of expressions. Through the geometrical approach, it should give us the similar set of expressions. So let's just see if we are able to construct such a Morse circle. So we saw in the previous lecture there were some assumptions that we made. So one of the assumptions for the mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile loading was that the stress along the x direction, or let me use the black pen here, is greater than the stress along the y direction. So we began by considering a segment or a line AB which represented the stress along the tensile stress along the x direction, and a line or a segment within this AB that represented the stress along the y direction. So if you have a segment something like this, you have your AB that represents sigma x, that is the tensile stress along the x direction, and there is a small segment within that represented the stress along the mutually perpendicular y direction, and that is less than that of AB. Now what we have is, initially we constructed a circle just with the difference between these two stresses. So the diameter was the difference between these two stresses, and if you half it, it will be the radius of the Morse circle that we previously considered. Now here we have, in addition to this mutually perpendicular stresses, we have our simple shear that is acting on the material. So we need to include that component as well. So far all that we have done is we have just included the two mutually perpendicular tensile stresses. Now to include this shear component of stress, since the shear component of stress is a part of the mechanical conditions that we see, this is included here as a perpendicular line from C and a perpendicular line from B. So what we are essentially doing is, we are introducing the shear component of stress by two lines, these two lines that are perpendicular to point C and B. And now what we want to do is, we want to plot a circle which includes these 2 points here. We will name this point in a moment, but let's try to plot a circle that includes these 2 points. So we have our AB that represents the stress that is acting along the x direction, and AC that includes the stress that is acting along the y direction. And these two, the magnitude of these two lines, they consider the shear component of stress. So magnitude of these two lines include the shear component of the stress. Now what we want to do is, we want to plot a circle. So let us plot that circle in red that includes these 2 points. I don't know how I'm going to plot it, but I'm going to give it a try. Yeah, let us assume this is a circle, and this includes these 2 points here. So the points that quantifies or the considers or that includes the magnitude of your the magnitude of your shear stress. So this is better than what we had earlier. So let us assume this to be a circle that includes these 2 points. And now the center of this circle here, which includes these 2 points, can be determined by plotting or constructing a line that includes these 2 points. So we have 2 definite points that includes the magnitude of the shear load, and we have a line that considers these 2 points, and this line intersects the line AB at point O, and this is the center of the circle. So what we have is, we have line AB representing the stress along the x direction and AC along the y direction, and these two lines that includes the magnitude of the shear stress. We have now drawn a line that would include these 2 points and that would cross the line AB at point O, and that is the center of the circle. And if you could recollect, we included the inclination of the angle in this circle by plotting a line from O to E. In the previous construction of the Morse circle, if you could recollect, this is how we included a line, that is E, by plotting, or included a line OE such that the angle of inclination, we were able to include that within the Morse circle. We were able to introduce the angle of inclination within the Morse circle by this segment OE. This is how we did it in the previous or initial consideration of the Morse circle. Now, in the previous considerations for the mutually perpendicular cases, this angle was between OB and OE. So this was the angle that defined the inclination in the region of interest. But now that we have a shear component, so the angle 2 theta is measured in this way. So the angle 2 theta is measured in this manner. So this angle is 2 theta, not this one. So if I mark it as red, this is not 2 theta, but rather the black one is 2 theta. So let me get rid of that. So this is the angle that characterizes the inclination of the region of interest, and that we have also included. Now, if you could recollect, what we did was we dropped a perpendicular from point E to point D in the previous lectures or in the previous consideration of the Morse circle, and that is exactly what we will do here. From point E, we have dropped a perpendicular to the line AB, and that point we refer to it as D. And now we can easily mention this. So we have included all the points that we have considered in the previous construction of Morse circle. Now we can refer to this as, so we have this point as F and G. So the segments BF and CG, they consider in the Morse circle, or they include in the Morse circle, the magnitude of the shear stress that is acting on the overall three-dimensional plate that we are considering so far. And the 2 theta here, which was initially with respect to AB, now is with respect to GF. The 2 theta here, which was initially with respect to AB, is now with respect to GF, and these are the changes that we are making. And again, the radius or the diameter of the Morse circle is no longer associated with the BC, which is supposed to be sigma x minus sigma y. It is no longer associated with it. It is even more further, as you can see here. It is even more extended. The Morse circle is now even more bigger because we have to include the consideration of the stress. So when you include the stress component, or rather the shear component, into the Morse construction or the construction of the Morse circle, then your initial consideration of the radius will be extended, and the circle will look, it is larger than your conditions when you have mutually perpendicular tensile load alone acting. Now we want to arrive at an expression for AD, because in the previous cases for AD we were able to calculate the normal component of stress that is acting perpendicular to AB. And let us see if we get the similar expression. So we have, for the condition that we are talking about, that is mutually perpendicular tensile loading along with the shear load that is acting on the three-dimensional material, we already arrived at an expression for the normal component of stress. So this is the expression for the normal component of stress. If, let us see, AD, which in the previous cases gave us this similar expression, is also able to give us the similar expression for the condition where there is mutually perpendicular tensile loading and a shear load that is acting. So for that we have to arrive at an expression, or we have to quantify AD, which can be expressed as AO plus OD. So AD is nothing but AO plus OD. Now AO is AC plus CO, and AC we have already seen as sigma y, and CO is nothing but, so CO is nothing but half of BC. CO is nothing but, the CO here is half of BC, because this is what the radius of the previous Morse circle was. So it would be CO is nothing but half of BC, and BC is nothing but CO is nothing but half of BC, and BC is nothing but 1 by 2 sigma x comma sigma or minus sigma y. And now based on these two expressions here, one can describe AO as sigma y plus 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y, and that would be 1 by 2 of sigma x plus sigma y. Now we want to arrive at an expression for OD. So we want to arrive at an expression for OD. In order to do so, let us now define an angle alpha. So let us now define an angle alpha, for we want to arrive at an expression for OD. So let us now define an angle alpha. Let us use another color maybe. So this angle, let us assume it to be alpha. So if this is alpha, the angle here, the angle in blue here, this would be 2 theta minus alpha. So we have now included an angle alpha, and this in the right angle triangle EOD, this angle here would be 2 theta minus alpha. Now what we want to arrive at is an expression for OD. When you consider this triangle EOD, we want to arrive at an expression for OD, then it would mean cos of 2 theta minus alpha. So when you consider cos of 2 theta minus alpha, it would be adjacent by hypotenuse, which would be OD by OE. So cos of 2 theta minus alpha, and now the OD would be OE cos of 2 theta. So we can write the expression for OD here. So based on this, we can write an expression that is OE cos of 2 theta minus alpha. Now cos of 2 theta minus alpha can be written as cos 2 theta cos alpha plus sin 2 theta sin alpha. So this is an expression for based on our trigonometric understanding. You can expand this cos 2 theta minus alpha in this form, and when you substitute this expansion here, your OD would be OE cos 2 theta cos alpha plus OE sin 2 theta sin alpha. Now we know what our theta is. So theta makes a sixth sense, that is, it includes the angle of inclination of our desired region of interest. So theta makes some physical sense. However, alpha does not make any physical sense, because it is just an angle we want to separate or we want to remove so as to quantify OD. So the alpha is just an angle that we removed from the theta or 2 theta in order to quantify the segment of our interest, that is OD. So now when you therefore what we want to do is we want to get rid of this alpha and include and see how we can get rid of it. So we have cos alpha and sin alpha. Then if you look here, the cos alpha, so this is alpha here, the cos alpha is OB by OF. So let me write it here itself. So we have cos of alpha, that would be OB by OF, and sin of alpha, that would be BF by OF. So cos alpha is OB by OF and sin alpha is BF by OF. Here it is important to note that this OF here is also equal to OE, because now the OF is equal to OE because both are radius. Since OE and OF are equal, this is because they are the radius, then we can substitute the OF here as OE. So let us now try to express the cos theta and sin theta. So let us try to substitute these values in the expression. So OB by OF is cos theta and BF by OF is sin theta. So if you do that, it would be OE cos 2 theta OB by OF plus OE sin 2 theta BF by OF. So all that we have done is substitute cos theta, that is OB by OF, and sin theta BF by OF. So that is what we have done. And now since OE and OF, they both are the radius of the Morse circle, then OE is equivalent to OF, and therefore they get cancelled. And ultimately what you end up with is having OB cos 2 theta plus BF sin 2 theta. Now you have OB and BF, and we have that related to sin 2 theta and cos 2 theta, OB and BF sin 2 theta and cos 2 theta. We know OB is nothing but the OB which we have already considered is half of the line BC. So OB is nothing but half of the line BC. So the OB is nothing but half of the line BC, and this is the nothing but the radius of our previous Morse circle, wherein we just had mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile load. So in that case it would be OB would be minus of sigma x minus sigma y. And BF, if you could remember, the way we constructed this whole Morse circle is by considering that this BF, this line here, this BF, as we have mentioned it here, this BF is nothing but the tau. So you have your BF is tau, and when you substitute the OB and BF in our expression for OD, then OD would look like OD 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y cos 2 theta plus, so all that we have done is substitute OB here in this expression, and now tau here in this expression plus tau sin 2 theta. Now we want to arrive at an expression for AD, which is nothing but the summation of AO, that is here. So we want to arrive at an expression for AD. It is a summation of AO, that is here, and OD, that is here. So we want to calculate AD. It's a summation of AO plus OD, and we already have an expression for AO, which is 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y, and we have an expression for OD, which is here. Now this would be 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y plus 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y cos of 2 theta plus tau sin 2 theta. So when you take the 1 by 2 out, then you would have your sigma x plus sigma y plus sigma x minus sigma y cos of 2 theta plus tau sin 2 theta. So this is nothing but your normal stress that is acting perpendicular to your region of interest. So we were able to arrive at the similar expression that we derived for the normal component of stress that is acting perpendicular to our region of interest within a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing a combination of mutually perpendicular tensile load and also a shear load. So the expression that we derived, we were able to arrive at the same expression by virtue of the Morse circle, and this Morse circle, as we have seen, when we construct it in such a way wherein we include the normal stress component and also the shear stress component, and we ensure that along with the region of along with the inclination of the region of interest is included in the Morse circle, then we are able to arrive at the expression by considering the similar segment that we have considered for mutually perpendicular cases. So we have considered a similar segment for mutually perpendicular cases, and using that segment as well, what we've been able to do is we've been able to arrive at the similar expression for the normal stress component that is acting perpendicular to AB. Now what we want to do is we want to arrive at an expression for the shear component of stress that is acting along AB from the Morse circle. So this, if you could recollect, was nothing but we considered this, or we arrived at this for a simpler mutually perpendicular biaxial loading case by considering the segment DE. So when you consider this segment, let me use green here. When you consider this segment DE, this in the previous case gave us the expression for the stress that is acting along the region of interest AB. Now instead of giving you the full derivation, I will just give you the outline of how one could arrive at it. So what you need to do is quantify the segment DE. So this segment DE is rather straightforward because you have a definite angle, that is this angle, and this angle is nothing but 2 theta minus alpha. This is the angle, and you have in the triangle EOD, and you want to quantify DE. So DE is nothing but, we want to quantify DE, and in this triangle EOD. So DE is nothing but then sine of this angle 2 theta minus alpha. So we already have that. The sine of this angle 2 theta minus alpha can be written as, within the triangle EOD, can be written as opposite by hypotenuse, that is ED by OE. So when you bring this here, the shear component of stress that is acting along the region AB, which is equal to that of ED in the Morse circle case, is nothing but OE sine of 2 theta minus alpha. Now the sine of 2 theta minus alpha can be expressed as the, rather, sine 2 theta cos alpha minus cos 2 theta sine alpha. So this is the expression for the trigonometric expression for expanding sine of 2 theta minus alpha. And now you can substitute it here and get rid of cos alpha and sine alpha in the same way that we got rid of it in the previous case. You can just substitute the sine alpha and cos alpha expression, and again considering that OF is equivalent to OE, you will be able to arrive at an expression for DE that looks something like this: 1 by 2 sigma x sigma y sine 2 theta minus of tau cos 2 theta. So when you use this trigonometric relation, substitute this here and get rid of this cos alpha and sine alpha term, you will be able to arrive at an expression for DE that is equivalent to the shear stress that is acting along the region AB. So what we have essentially done is, we have now expanded our understanding of the Morse circle, and using the Morse circle we were able to arrive at the set of expressions for the normal components of stress and shear component of stress that is acting along the inclined region in a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing mutually perpendicular stress and also a shear stress. And these expressions that we derived using the Morse circle is equivalent to the ones that we derived in a conventional manner. So what we have, the essential takeaway point here is that we have now extended our understanding of how to construct a Morse circle. We now know what are the changes that occur when you include the shear component of stress. So possibly with this lecture, maybe we would conclude our discussion on the components of stress. I hope so. And from the next lecture onwards, we will begin on looking into the different aspect of, or rather a totally a unique aspect of the mechanical behavior of material than that we have considered so far. So we will see ourselves in the next lecture. Goodbye.